Okay, so we are Yudalim at Bays. We got to the two dots, about 10, 12 lines up, from the bottom. Rabbi Yossi Eimer, Rechavim Gimel Tfachim. So the machlokas in the Mishnah is to the minimum width of a lachi. Tanakama said Kol Shul. Rabbi Yossi said no, they have to be 3 Tfachim. So Rav Yosef, Rav Huna, Mashmuel, and Rabbi Yossi. So Rav Yosef quotes Rav Yehuda the name of Shmuel that we do not follow Rabbi Yossi loy behilmi v'loy b'lechayin. Not in the issue of hilmi, which is a issue in Gemara Shabbos about making fish, some kind of brine, some kind of pickling juice, which we know pickling is a problem, and Rabbanan made a gzeir about it. But can you even make the juice that you would a small amount of the brine that you might pickle something in, or you might dip something into it? So even Rabbi Yossi asked it, even that, even a small amount. So we don't follow him not by that issue, v'lo b'l'chaim, and not by the issue of the 3 tfachim. So Amar Rav Huna bar Chidina behilmi amrit lan. So Rav Huna bar Chidina says, told him, I remember you saying to us regarding hilmi that we don't follow Rabbi Yossi, but you never said anything to us regarding the lechi halacha. To which he responded, yeah, really? Maishna behilmi depli Rabbanallah. What's the difference? I don't get why there would be a split in the halacha if we don't follow Rabbi Yossi by hilmi, because the majority opinion, the Rabbanan argue with Rabbi Yossi. So there's by lechis there should be no difference. Lechi also, Rabbi Yossi is taking on the majority, so for that same reason we should follow the Rabbanan in that regard as well. To which he answered back, Rabbi Yossi answered back, Omli Shani, or Rav Huna bar Chidina answered back, Shani l'chaim mishum dekoi Rebbe kavasei. L'chaim is different because, as remember, we had aligned Rebbe with Rav Yossi when it comes to this issue. We showed that Rebbe holds like Rabbi Yossi at the minimum shir v'lachi is 3 tfachim. So when you have Rebbe together with Rav Yossi, then you got something that's a little bit different, and now there would be reason and justification to follow Rabbi Yossi when it comes to the issue of lechi. Rav Rechumi Masna Hachi. Rav Rechumi learned this conversation as follows: Rav Yuna Braid Rav Shmuel Bar Shelas Mishnei Derav in Alachik Rabbi Yossi Lo Behilmi Lo B'Lechayin. So different people as far as the quote, or it goes back to Rav. But as Rav Huna Braid Rav Shmuel Bar Shelas, that was the one who had quoted Rav, saying we do not follow the halacha, not like that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yossi, not by Hilmi, not by Lechayin. So the two subjects are the same. Amli Amrit. So they said, did you really say this? So I guess they checked with him, Rav Yehuda bar Shelas, or Shmuel bar Shelas, they had checked with him, did you say this? Amli Amrit lahu. Amli Amrit, did you say this? Amli lahu loy. He said, no, I did not say it. Meaning, I don't hold this way. I don't hold that we do not follow Rabbi Yossi in either. He says, Amar Rava, however, disagrees. Kim, he swears by God, Amra, you did say it. I remember putting it to memory and hearing it from you. So don't tell me you never taught it when indeed you did teach it. But basically what he was saying is, I might have taught it, but I don't follow that anymore. I don't hold that that's the right psak. So why did you indeed retract if you're not saying it, and that's what you meant by loy, that basically I don't agree with that statement, but you did originally say it, so why'd you change your mind? What transpired between the original statement and now? Why'd you change your mind? And the answer is Mishum Rabbi Yossi Nimuki Imoy, because Rabbi Yossi has a special status. And even though maybe the original statement was made that we don't follow Rabbi Yossi by L'chayin and by Hilmi, but after, I guess, learning more and discovering that we have a Messiah in Shas about Rabbi Yossi Nimuki Imoy, his logic is impeccable, his reasoning is, goes with him. He explains his positions very well. So as a result, I would change my mind, and that's why Hadabe. So Amalei Rava Barav Chanan Labaye Hilchasamai. So okay, what's the bottom line? We have people saying maybe we split the difference. I did say it, I didn't say it. So what's the deal? You got Nemuki Imoy, which Nemuki Imoy would be a reason to paskin like Rabbi Yossi in both cases. So what's the deal? So Hilchasamai Amalei Paik Chazei Mai Ima Dabar. Okay, why don't you go see what the people do outside? So basically, and the people on the outside don't use 3 tefach lechis. Not sure about the brine. We'll see. Well, but clearly, when you look outside and you see what goes on as far as the lechis are concerned, so that for sure we would not follow Rabbi Yossi in that regard. Let's take a look at Rashi. Hilmi. Okay, so right next to the diagram there, on the left side of the diagram, Hilmi, Masechah Shabbos Perek Shmeina Shratzim, Hilmi Shlemuyar Blaz, some kind of a brine. Bishum Dekoy Rebbe Kavasei. So if you're asking why would I make a split between Lechi and between a Lechi and between a brine, it's bishum dekoi Rebbe Kavasei le'el v'adatani adabar miyomi Rebbe he v'savala Rebbe Yossi kudukimna b'chotz katana shivras l'gadola. When we learned that Mishnah about the small chutzner going into the big chutzner, and we back and forth, we analyzed it. We ended up there that the position of that Tana was Rebbe who held like Rebbe Yossi, or Rebbe Yossi who held like Rebbe. The two were aligned. So. Since we do find that the Rabbi Yossi and Rebbe together hold this position, then that makes it more halachically powerful. So, and why would you change your mind? The Muki Imoy. Taimei Rayosav Mevi Loi B'chol Mokom Sechus Gittin. The reasons for his proofs that he brings to his halacha is all over. As we said this in Sechus Gittin, Mani shvachon shel chachamim, zeh shvachon shel Rabbi Yossi. I guess who are the rabbis praising? They're praising. They're giving the praise of Rabbi Yossi of Nemuki Imoy. So clearly he has a special status. He wasn't seen as a regular Tana. He was seen as very deep and insightful, and therefore he takes on a different status. So Gemara seems to only ask by L'chayin, so that takes care of that issue. That it's by brine, it seems pretty clear we don't follow Rabbi Yossi. What about L'chayin? At least that's what we're asking right now. That's what we're focusing in on. And the answer is go out and check. If you see what the people do, that does say a lot, because it means that there's some kind of a Messiah within Klal Yisrael. That's who we paskin like. Okay, and that's very happens today often as well. That even sometimes Rav Moshe or some other big gadol can say something, and yet somehow Klal Yisrael seems to move in a little bit of a different direction and seems to paskin differently. So imay debar. Man nogu what are the people doing? What's the minig out there on the streets? Kvar nogu b'lechi mashu, and the custom already is that they would allow a lechi to be a mashu. That seems to be. You look at the movies all over town. That's the way they work. They don't require 3 tefachim, and that's enough to prove what the halach is. Okay, back to the Gemara. 3 lines to the bottom. There are those who learn this issue about going out and checking out to see what's going on the street about a different issue. Okay, similar discussion but a different topic. So if a person drinks water for thirst, what's the bracha you make? Okay, so this is something that again we know about Gemara and brachas, that you make hakol shakol niya b'varoi. Everything came into being with His word. Okay, everything is here from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rav Tarfon says tonight's bracha, it's not what you make on water. He says burn nefashos abos, who makes many different creations v'chesronon, and their things that they lack. I'll call mashabras in addition to everything else that you've created. So he felt, Reb Tarfon feels, We're familiar with this bracha, of course, but this bracha, Rav Tarfon felt you would make on water before you drank it, not after you drank, but before you drank. So, what's the deal? What's halacha? Do you make a burn of fashos on water, or do you make a shahakol on water? Which one is it? So Amalei Paik Chazi my Ima Debar. Okay, so go out and look. Go see what the nation is doing. What's happening out on there on the street, and on the street we make a shahakol. So we're making a shahakol. That's another way that little conversation went down. Let's take a look at Rashi. Towards the end of the fourth line up, Litsamai Lafuke Man de Chanakte Umsa. This would be different than, let's say, somebody just needs the water to clear out something from his throat. Some bone got in there, so he has to drink. That would be different. But here you're drinking clearly because you're thirsty. What bracha do you make? Shakol niya b'vroi lefanav v'liachrov lefanav. You make the bracha shakol before. V'liachrov v'loi klum. And afterwards, you don't make any bracha. You don't make a burn of fashos according to the Tanakama. Okay, Rav Tarfon I'm a burn of fashos abos v'ani shamati the Rav Tarfon balachayev af bracha achrav burn of fashos rabbis. That the way he heard pshat is that Rav Tarfon is not arguing on the first bracha; he's arguing on the second bracha. That the after bracha is added of burn of fashos. But I agree with you on the first bracha. That's a pshat that he heard from his rebbeim. V'lo I don't like that pshat. Says Rashi, does not appear to me to be correct. Yesh ton bracha l'fanav ein ton bracha la'achrov. Rabbeinu l'siyei mai. There are things that require bracha before, but not after. And what is that coming to include? Avinon ba. And we asked the question. There were papa the mavarach hamaya. Okay. We mentioned what about Rav Papa makes a bracha on water? V'lamrinon Rav Tarfon mechayev hamaya. Michael Meimar. And we don't say that. What are you going to say about Rav Tarfon who obligates you to make a bracha achroina on mayim? Nearly the Rav Tarfon all the fun of kamar. Okay, so we're not going to go and open up a nida now to go through the whole minei bay there. But bottom line is that proves, Rashi feels that proves that the discussion there, since we didn't bring in Rav Tarfon as a bracha achrona issue, which there that was the subject of the Gemara there. And why didn't we? Basically, if that was the issue, or if Tarfon felt you made a bracha achrona of burner fashos, and that's his machlokas with the Tanakama, it should have been brought in that Gemara, and yet it wasn't. So must be that Reb Tarfon is not arguing on the bracha achrona; he's arguing on the bracha rishona, and therefore he learns differently than his rebbeim. Okay.
So this seems to say that the Bar Nefesh is Rebos Berachah Shana. He's saying that you make that in the beginning and nothing at the end.
Correct, and that's what the Tanakama holds as well. You make a shahakol, and Rashi throws in nothing at the end. They're right. There are other shitas. So yeah, but that seems based on what we're learning right now. Yes, that's what the two opinions that we're looking at hold. The way Rashi learns. Okay.
How can they think they were talking about lechis, and then all of a sudden he said, "No, they're not talking about lechis. They're talking about water."
Yeah.
How did you confuse the subject?
Well, I mean, you have that a lot where there are people say that discussion. I mean, again, you were referring to a particular phrase where he said, "Nu what's halacha?" He says, "Well, go check on the street to see what the halacha is." So it's not so outlandish to say, "Well, where did he say that?" There might have been different discussions that day, and according to one version, he said that expression about lechi, and according to another version, he said that expression, go out and check what's going on in the street as far as relates to making a bracha on water. So when you're talking about a conversation, and what was the subject of the conversation, which, it's not so hard to understand. You're talking about remembering things by heart and saying them over, and
And then about going out in the street and see what people do. Well, if you go out in the street and see people are carrying on Shabbos, what's that prove?
Okay, true. I mean, some things are not questions, but in other words, when you look at the Torah world and look at the Torah community and you see what they're doing, that has some validity. There's something to that, and it's based on something. So obviously, when you're doing something totally wrong and you don't have a question that it's wrong, well then, that's not the Torah world, hopefully. But and if you see that, God forbid, the Torah world speaking Lashon Hara, you can't say you see Lashon Hara is okay. But when it's something like this,
they rely on it.
Right, they rely on the fact that just Rabbi Byron mentioned yesterday in Israel Halacha that the idea of Rav Moshe happens to hold that the whole idea of hinting to a guy only applies that when you don't hint directly to the guy. When you say a statement and the guy overhears you, then it's okay. Now, we don't, so that's something, and he mentioned that Klal Yisrael didn't take on that chumrah, and we have other cases. Mishabur says something about, whatever halacha might be, Sukkah is something that, but that's not what Klal Yisrael does. So, very often it means that we followed a different posek. It's not like they just made up something out of the clear blue, but here, that it's a legit position one way or the other, but we see that Klal Yisrael didn't follow Rav Tarfon, they followed the Chachamim, or in the other case, they followed that a lechi could be like the Tanakama. So they're legitimate positions. It's just a question of which one they held like. It doesn't mean they can just make up, whatever they want.
So there's no posek Matir's Lashon Hara?
Not that I'm aware of. Okay. If I told you the name of that posek, that would be Lashon Hara. Okay. Anyway, let's see here. Itmar. Okay, so ready to start a new Gemara. Right, so Tosaf, just a quick little peek in that Tosfos, Pirsha Kuntris, Pok Chazi, Ukvarnogu B'lechi Mashu, right? And they're already doing the lechis with a mashu, so that's halacha. V'kivin ein halacha l'Rabbi Yossi B'lechi, kol shkein b'hilmi. So he throws in, I mentioned the same thing, I was sort of guessing, Tosaf says it unequivocally, that if we don't follow Rabbi Yossi when it comes to lechi, we certainly don't follow him when it comes to hilmi. So on the whole fish brine thing, it would be okay to make brine in general would be okay to make a small amount, like the other Chachamim, and refer to Hilchos Shabbos for more details. Okay, can't do the whole thing there. Okay, fine. Top of the Gemara, new sugya, similar topic, but then new issue. Itmar. So we learned as follows: Lechi ha'omed me'elav. What about a lechi that stands on its own? Meaning that look at Rashi. What does it mean? It stands sort of on its own. Shaloi hukfu sham l'shem tikun mavi dolis minu lekach. It was never established and put into the ground for the sake of mattering a mavi. It wasn't that it happened to just be there, and look at how convenient it is that we happen to have this wonderful lechi. Is it shy to just bring a little milk?
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Thank you. Okay, right. So that it was not prepared for that reason. So you happen to have a lechi, and look what we found, and you want to use that lechi, which was never prepared specifically for the purpose of mattering the mavli. Is that lechi valid? Okay, or do you need to put up that post specifically? We're making an Eruv, we need to have a lechi, and so let's put up a lechi for that purpose. Or do you say, no, it doesn't have to be put up, there's no hineni muchad mezuma when it comes to a lechi. If you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. It's kavanas don't really make a difference. So what's the deal? So itmar lechi omid me'elav, Abai omar heavy lechi. Abai says, that's valid, it's a good lechi. Rava malo lechi. Rava says, it's not a lechi. Now let's define the parameters of the machlokas. In a situation where you did not rely on this yesterday, that, in other words, that basically you had another lechi. To go and look at Rashi. If you were not relying on this from yesterday when Shabbos came, let's say you had a designated lechi, but unfortunately it fell. Okay, on Shabbos the lechi fell down, and you don't have any lechi anymore. So, but now you said, wait a minute. Before we announce to all the people in the Movi you can't carry, let's use the other lechi that happened to be there. Just happenstance happened to be there because whatever. So in that situation, everyone agrees that it's not going to work. Okay, okay, that it was you had another lechi there before Shabbos. So then in that case, back to the Gemara, Kuli Amaloi Pligi, third line, the loy have a lechi. In that case, everyone agrees. No lechi, no good. You were relying on something else when Shabbos hit, and now in middle of Shabbos you want to rejuvenate this post that was not really servicing you when Shabbos came. Can't do it. Okay, ki pligi echad samchina lamiesmo. The case is where you were relying on this yesterday. Where in other words, you needed this lechi to get going into Shabbos, but you never place it there. So in other words, you want to use it for Shabbos. Your intent, but you didn't pick it up and put it in l'shem lechi for a mavu. You just happen to have it. Is that enough to simply say, okay, for this Shabbos we're using that lechi, or do you have to actually literally put it into the ground for the purposes of a lechi? So that's a shaila. So when you want to rely on it when as Shabbos comes in, Abai says it is a good lechi because that's what you want to do and you're allowed to do it. There's no special requirement of placing it into the ground for the sake of a lechi. Rav Amar Lavi lechi kivna mikara lava daite dachi avidi. Okay, and Rava says since from its inception, when you put the lechi into the ground or you attach it to the pole, whatever you did, it was never done for the purposes of having a lechi. He says, "Kiva the mikor lava daita dachavidi loy havi lechi." Okay, so it does not work. So the basic machlokas seems to be: must you designate at the time of placement? Okay, this for its purpose, or is that really not a requirement and not really something that the lechi needs? So right now the logic is going to be the way we're thinking about this, because Sakadaitach was still in the Gemara. The Gemara at this point is thinking, what difference would it make whether you're dealing with a lechi or a korah or a mechitza? All of these functions of walls and beams and posts are all the same. And if they argue about a lechi, they should argue about a mechitza as well. So, which means Abai would say yes to a mechitza that happened to be there on its own, that was not made for the purposes of supplying a wall, right? These walls were made to be walls. Okay? When they were put up for the specific purpose of us being able to not be able to touch people right outside, right, to separate us. So that was the reason. So is that the way all walls have to be? Can you use a wall that wasn't made for that reason? Or not? So the same machlokes Abai of Rav when it comes to a lechi will be the same machlokes Abai of Rav when it comes to a wall. Okay, but now we've got a lot more fuel. In other words, if we can extrapolate that it's the same machlokes, if I can find from the case of walls proof against either Abai of Rav, then I'm in business and knocking him out by lechi as well. It seems that there's a lot more to base it. A lot more information about mechitzas than there are about lechis. So let's see. We're now going to be on a mechitza campaign. Let's see. Toshma. So a person makes a sukkah around trees. Vilonos defanisla. Okay, so that I'm in the jungle, right, and I want to at sukkah's time. So schach is going to be readily available. Where am I going to have my walls from? So beautiful. I'm around trees. Okay, and you'll just you'll use the trees as your walls. You put the schach on top, hanging over the trees or on the sides of the trees, whatever, on the branches, and you're good to go. Okay, and after you and Tarzan, just one more from Azumin, you're perfect. So let's see here. So is that considered valid? Okay, you make a sukkah amongst the trees. And the trees are the walls of the sukkah. Kshera. So what is that? Kshera. Now, these trees happen to just be there. It isn't like you just, you didn't make the tree for the purpose of a wall, right? The tree was there. The Gemara says, who says? You're wrong. The case is uniquely that you actually planted the tree for that purpose, to have walls. So you thought ahead, and you realized that you might have to be in a faraway place during Sukkot. So you went there. You planted trees months in advance. I don't know how long it takes for a tree to develop, but however it is, you planted it, and that's what happened. Okay, and there you have, okay, so he wants to give us a diagram. Fine. Okay, so there you have your trees as your walls. But he makes it very, he puts it in your backyard, so it's not as exotic as my case. Okay, so, yeah. So the answer was you planted lechatchila to have trees as your walls, and that's certainly in Los Angeles. You can imagine, people make their sukkahs in their backyards, all types of configurations. Bushes could be. Why can't bushes be walls? Okay, it's kosher. Well, wait a minute. If you plant it for that reason, then this does not get into the Abaya Rava issue. If it doesn't get into the Abaya Rava issue, then what's a chiddush? It's pashut. If you planted, why shouldn't a tree be a wall? I mean, why not? The only issue why you wouldn't would be for Rava's reason. But if you're getting out of Rava's reason because you're planting it for that purpose, the L'chaira for sure it should be a wall. What's a chiddush? Whereas it's not so pashut. Ma the tema, I would have thought ligzar dilma osil shamushay bilan. We know that you're not allowed to use trees on Shabbos and Yontif, right? Where you can't hang your hat on a tree, you can't lean on a tree, you can't use trees. So if you can't use trees, maybe there would be a concern that if your sukkah had a tree as a wall, you'd use your tree, right? Hanging things would be a problem. You couldn't put your shpizin up there, so stuff like that. So basically the chiddush is we're not worried about it. That everyone knows halachas of a tree, and we're not going to make any mistakes. That's the chiddush. But as far as the Abaye Rava, that issue is not this issue at all. So look at Rashi. Third line from the top. You might go up and God forbid rip something off the tree as you're using the tree for something, whatever you want to access something in your sukkah. I might be afraid. Maybe I'd be worried. You therefore can't use trees as a wall, because it's too fraught with danger of you actually using the tree and possibly cutting something off. And the chiddush is, we are not worried about that. So Toshma, back to the Gemara, let's try another one. Hayisham Elon Ogeder Ochitas Hakanim. Let's say you had, again, naturally, you're trying to make these 4 cropped situations around the well, so you can carry from the well to the area outside the well, as you have the Rashi diagram there. So you have those 4 L-shaped corners. And you can have big gaps in between. In this diagram, you're much more closed than you are open. But you can have cases where you're much more open than you are closed. But so instead of finding, panels, you happen to have either a tree or a fence or a chitzas hakanim or a row of reeds that serves as one of your corners. So look at that. How convenient. I can save money. I don't have to go to Home Depot and get a big, panel of wood. Can't I use the natural freestanding things that are there anyway? So nidam shem yomed. Halachas you can, right? If you had the fence or the tree or the reeds that were there anyway, they are nidam shem yomed. That could be one of your crops, one of your L-shaped situations. But they were not planted for that reason, pashtus, and therefore doesn't this prove Rava wrong that the mechitzas do not have to be created for the purposes of serving you? They can be there just happenstance, and you want to just transition them, and that's fine. Or it says no, it's no proof. Same thing, you planted it lechatchila for that. Well, same question. What kind of chiddush would there be if they're free? If they just happen to, if they were planted for that particular purpose again, then of course it's good. Why would I think it's not good? So the Gemara says no. There is a very good havim to think they're not good because kamashman chitza konim kana pachos mishoshet tvachim. Because the specific case of chitza konim that you want to use, the reeds that are standing that you want to use are situated in a way where they're less than 3 tefachim away from each other. Picture a picket fence with reeds. So in a picket fence, you're looking at that fence, do you have more airspace or do you have more closure in that fence? Most picket fences have more airspace than closure. So you might say maybe lovewood can't work because, even though we do have lovewood and you argue there's less than 3 tefachim between each picket, right? Each reed, but maybe at the end of the day, there's more opening than closure. Maybe it can't be used as one of your diamdim, one of your L-shaped corners, because maybe you need physical closure, right? The chiddush is you don't, and that is a legitimate shaila, and that's a legitimate issue. In fact, so much so, that was actually a shaila that Abai asked Rabbah about whether or not it's legit to be able to use lavud to create a wall for these yomdim. When anyway, there's so many leniencies we're doing over here. Maybe you can't do that. The chiddush is you can. So that's the chiddush of the brisa. And nothing to do with a Abai of Rav, because you had not, you planted the reeds for that reason. You knew that you're going to have an issue there, and you dafka planted it, and that. So we still have no proof. We have two different chidushim in these two different cases, but neither chiddush has to do with a Abai or Rav or Rava. Okay, let's see the Rashi. Hayasham l'shtamushe be'ilon. You're right. Okay, so we did that already. I'm afraid you might come to pick something and take something off from connected to the ground, which would be a major issue of kotzer. Okay, hayusham bepase biros. In the case of pase biros, next Rashi, where you make these four-cornered surrounding areas for the well. Tanya perik sheni chitza kanim. We looked in the second perik. Chitza kanim mechubarim. They're connected to the ground. These reeds are connected to the ground. Chitzas shahayu netuim keseder mechitza. The word chitzas is that it was an orderly planting of these reeds for the purpose of creating a wall. So they were planted less than 3 tefachim away from each other. Mamish like a picket fence, only it's a reed fence. Chitz, we did that. He says diyomed. Mefarish parak sheni dayo amudim. The word diyomed means two walls. Amud echad nira kishnayim. It's one wall that appears like two because it's shaped like an L. Shaso kamerzav. Okay, it's made like some kind of a bent pipe or something. V'noite echad mimchitzas avodarom, and you bend one of them towards the south, v'echalamayr, and one towards the west. The chiyav dalad yom. Then when you make 4 of these, when you make 4 L-shaped situations, as you're looking at it in Rashi, l'dalad apeos for the 4 corners, yeshachol mechitza beis amos. Each mechitza has 2 amos. Oimed amma mikan ve'oimed amma mikan. So each one of those of those amudim, of those yoimdim, are an amma in each direction. Okay, so at the end of the day, I've got 2 ammas surrounding me on each side, and that is sufficient to create an enclosure that is deemed to be a valid enclosure for this purpose. You can't use it for anything else, but you can use it for water, to pull water out of a well. You can use it, because how else are you going to feed your animals? So we thought that we had a proof that you, even though you did not plant it for that reason, and Rava therefore is disproven. We says no, you did plant it for that reason. The chiddush is exactly this issue. We're going to have this shaila that Abai asks Rabbah in the second perik. Okay. Soif daf your test. The Bach feels wants to tell us where it is. Okay, thank you. Fine, and that takes care of that. So we are now 0 for 2 in trying to prove Rabbah is wrong or Abai is right. We tried 2 cases of mechitz and both were knocked off. Let's keep going. Toshma, try this one. Elon hamesich al oretz. So you've got this tree, that has a tremendous, ability to shade over the land. So you get the branches coming out, and you got a beautiful shady area that's shading over the ground underneath it. So im ein neifai gevaya min haaretz gimel tfachim. If the branches are not 3 tfachim or more off the ground, so there's big shade. He doesn't. I don't know. Doesn't I guess? Oh, that's maybe the next one. You'd see maybe the next picture has a thing. Okay, I guess we'll have to wait. So, so you have this big, but just picture a bunch of branches coming out, sort of maybe picture like a dome kind of situation, and they come and they form walls because they're less than 3 tefachim off the ground. So that's the really bottom line. If they're 3 tefachim off the ground, if you have the next picture there maybe, if they're 3 tefachim off the ground, they can't work because it's too high. But if they're less than 3 tefachim off the ground, then those branches will form a wall. Okay, So let's see here one more time. So that serves as Rishus HaYachid. If it's not 3 Tvachim off the ground, that means you can use lavud. If you use lavud, then you're surrounded. Okay, there you have it, right? So you can use lavud, and you're good to go to be able to carry underneath the tree. If it's Gavoya, so doesn't that show me that these branches can be used as a mechitz, even though they were not planted lechatchil for that purpose? So doesn't that prove that Rava is incorrect and Abaya is right? Here too, same deal. Okay, then you are allowed to. The cases that was planted from the very inception for that purpose, because I knew I wanted to read books on Shabbos underneath the area.
20 years.
What? It takes 20 years for a tree.
For it to grow enough for the branches to
Okay.
head up and then all the way down.
Yeah, he's thinking ahead. Yeah, he's thinking ahead.
way ahead.
Okay, so he says it was planted for that purpose. Really? But if that's the case, if you lechatchila planted that tree to supply the walls by the branches that are going to be overhanging and coming down to the ground, he says, then why are there limitations to the halacha? Alama, Amar of Huna, Brady of Yeshua, then why would it be that Rav Huna, Brady of Yeshua said about this halacha that you're allowed to carry, Emetatam ba'ela beis hasayim? It's only if the area underneath the tree is limited to a beis hasayim. 500, or is it 500 or 5,000 square amas? Let's see, maybe we'll see in Rashi. What, 5,000? Mishum davidirish tashmish shel avir. Because, in other words, that whole stipulation that you only can carry, let's say in a park, how big is a park that's surrounded, if it's surrounded by walls, and you're in a park, and a lot of parks do have fences around them. So you can carry only if the park is less than 5,000 square amas. But if the park is more than a beis hasayim, since it was not hookah fladira, it was not set up, it was not fenced in to live inside of it, then you can't carry. But here, if you made the trees l'chatchila to serve as the walls, that the Gemara is thinking is a case where it's made for the purposes of dwelling inside of it, and that should be good even if it's bigger than a beis hasayim. So why did Rav Huna, Breder of Yeshua, limit it to a beis hasayim when l'chayre it should be able to be carried even if it was bigger? It's a big tree. I mean, we're talking about sequoias here, or that's not going to be beis hasayim. I mean, 5,000 square amas is a lot more than a guy sitting under a tree there. Yeah, so he says,
If it's a sequoia, then you're going to need to be...
What?
If it's a sequoia, then you need to be thinking that your grandchildren are going to be reading.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so one more time. Allah Amr Vuna Brei Yeshua imitatam by Ela Beis Hasayim. Okay, then Rav Yeshua says you only can carry up into a Beis Hasayim Mishum Davidir Shetashmish Shel Avir. Okay, no. Okay, stop there. Right. So why is that true? The answer is because it's true. Even if though you planted the tree for the purpose of supplying a wall, mishum de have a dira shel avir. At the end of the day, the dira is really only used for the airspace around it. The chol dira shel avir, even though yes, you did plant it for that purpose, since it's a dira which is usage is for the avir, ematam ba'el beis hasayim, it's limited to a beis hasayim. Let's do a quick. Rashi, Hamesich Neifei, Neite at Samach Laretz, the branches come out till close to the ground. Roshan of Box Megimel Karka, and the tip of the branches are less than 3. Vikar Mokum Shemachubr Elon, and its source, its roots are connected to the ground. Gvaya Sarah, more than 10. So the tree serves as your wall, and the branches, it doesn't matter. It's 10 high. Why is it 10 high? I guess to serve it, because in order to be a wall, it's got to be able to go 10 off the ground. I think we'll have to do this Rashi tomorrow.